Spread eagle. And we're live.
Perfect timing. Spread eagle.
Hi, Karen.
I'm hot.
Should I turn the AC down?
So hot. I'll just take off my, oh no, my microphone's attached. All right, so here's what I thought. I thought we would first talk about what our purpose is, why we decided to do this podcast.
All right.
So, John,
Yes.
What's exciting to you about doing a podcast? With me, of course.
Discussing consciousness and life and pairing the two. I feel like I'm kind of living in two worlds. I have one foot in like the higher self, if you will, and one foot in the physical self. And I'm excited to bridge the two on like a minute by minute basis and make it work. And I love that we can go all over the map.
Yes, I love that. And then when we were talking, well, we talk a lot. And every time we talk, we never know where we're going. And it's always so expansive for me. And I love the way that you think. I don't know anybody else who thinks the way you do. So I thought, hey, why don't we collaborate on an episode, a separate episode? And then we started talking like, well, why stop at one? And why do it on a platform where we'll be censored? So we thought, hey, let's go for a ZZZ rating.
Triple Z. It's beyond triple X.
So
Anything
we can,
goes.
yeah, we can talk about absolutely anything because we can nerd out on quantum physics and manifestation and channeling and alien life and all those things. And then in the next breath, we might be talking about sex.
Yes, definitely that.
So if you are ready to have your mind blown, stick with us because you never know where we're going. If you have ever labeled yourself as ADD, this is the one for you.
You have a topic idea, or should I like throw something out?
Throw something out. Let's play.
How about the now?
All right. What do you want to tell us about now? The now.
So as I sit with, I love looking at common threads across all the people who fascinate me and resonate with me. And the idea of there only being a now and no linear time per se fascinates me. And it makes me come to the conclusion when I sit with it long enough that every minute has to contain the same potential as any other minute. And as a result, if the idea where your awareness is focused expands, it makes me think that you can focus on anything in any given minute and then have that experience. And it kind of burns through the adage of needing to like fix anything or even processes. Processes can be like an experience in their own right, which are equally valid, yet at the same time, I think it's all right. Just going into sleep mode maybe. I like that we're having our first time technical issue. Maybe I could set the screensaver not to go to sleep. Anywho, yeah.
Keep going. All right, so back up a touch.
Yeah.
So you were saying right before our screen went black in the now.
Yes, in the now.
That, well, every potential is contained in every moment of now.
Yes. If there's no time, then every second must have the same potential to be anything. What other conclusion could one possibly come to? Do you have any other conclusions you
No,
want to?
but I freaking love it. So I want to know, how have you played with this in your life?
Mostly in thought and focus, in the idea of process. When I think, no, I'm not ready for, I need to go back and fix, there's a problem with, I can sit in the seat of consciousness, like in the higher self, and be like, wait a minute, what you're saying is valid as an experience, but it doesn't have to be. You can pick an experience like right now, I'm whatever I say I am, and supposedly get that experience back.
Oh my gosh, I want to poke holes in that.
Poke
what
it.
part of it? All right, so I am an expert pilot. All right, let's go. Come on, I'll fly you, John. Let's go. What do you say to that?
Theoretically, you are. The question is the degree to which you actually accept, believe, and surrender to it, as Dr. Joe would say. Like fully embrace it and believe it and live it.
I don't know. All right, so here's where this comes in for me. Have you ever met guys, it's mostly guys, that think they are God's gift to women, they can get anybody, and they hit on women way out of their league. Now, they 100% believe they could have this woman. They could be making love to her tonight. And the woman's like, hell no, dude, have you seen yourself?
I thought you were talking about me until you used the term out of my league, because there's no one out of my league, and then the questioning statement on the woman. So it's like 80% me, but yeah.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying somebody who's completely out of touch with 3D reality and their constraints. And I believe there are constraints.
Go on.
All right.
Self-imposed constraints or constraints imposed by the reality itself?
I would say not self-imposed. I would say other imposed. So in my example, there's a man who could be a narcissist, could be that label if you want to label somebody, but it's somebody who thinks he could have any woman he wants. Now, what led up to that belief, I have no clue. Is it true? No matter how hard he believes it, he's not going to get with me.
I gotta take a sidetrack here. I'm excited to go back and finish this thought, but you brought up the idea of narcissist, and I love that you did, because I've seen it come up in some of the channels I'm interested in, or actually maybe peripheral people to the channels I'm most interested in. And I understand, or as a truth I hold, we're all on a journey of self-love. And I sit with the idea of narcissist. It is a valid experience. All truths are true. But is loving yourself considered narcissism? How would you define that term?
I would not consider that narcissism. I think when you love yourself fully, you're loving God, and you're also honoring and loving everyone else and everyone else's experience. Now, for me, the people that, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, I don't have any business whatsoever labeling anybody. There are narcissistic tendencies. I think we all have some degree of it, right? We all have some of it. The people that I've been with in relationships that are narcissists don't have any ability to be empathetic. They don't have an ability to assess what's really happening. And they're not responding to social cues.
God, I love this topic because I see the bridge. I see this as a paradoxical center point between the idea of consciousness of the higher self and human consciousness, in that another key thread among all the people I'm into, Dr. Joe, Bashar, Abraham, Course in Miracles, like you name it, all the mainstream stuff, Seth, it says, if you like your reality and focus on it, you'll get more of it. But if you don't like your reality and you focus on what is, you'll never allow for change, because you have to see and imagine and embrace living a future potential ahead of it occurring. And if one actually acts on that, it would require characteristics exactly as you displayed. Someone would say, no thanks, I'm not interested in you dating you, I'm not interested in you doing business with you, I'm not interested. And all the people who are considered visionaries were rejected a million times and told that, but they refused to accept it and knew their own worth and self-love, saw beyond into their own potential, and became world changers by not surrendering to what other people were saying in their own social cues, which presents like an interesting paradox.
That's so funny, because most world leaders have high degrees of narcissism if you look at the professionals. But there's so much more to it. There's the gaslighting, and we're not going to get into all the negative aspects per se.
Yes,
because that's
I love
not
that.
what we're about.
No.
So I understand what you're saying, and I love it. And I think it's really important to have empathy and compassion, not only for yourself, but for others. And when I've been in a relationship with a narcissist, there's been degrees of control and manipulation and not honoring of the other person's brilliance and their ability to make choices that are just perfect for them.
Yes.
There's this, no, you're doing it wrong. What is wrong with you? And I don't believe anybody is making poor choices. I believe that every choice you make will be used for you, for your growth and development, for your evolvement. You can't do it wrong. Like Course in Miracles says that.
Yes. I love that. I love what you're saying. It resonates so deeply. And perhaps the key element within the definition of narcissism would be you love yourself, but within the context of putting down or trying to control on a human level other people or circumstances. Would that be fair to say?
Well, I hear you. I don't think narcissists love themselves. I think there is a deep-seated hatred and a rejection of who they are. I think they've experienced extreme abandonment or abuse growing up, and it's survival. I don't think they're bad people. I just think they're doing the best they can, like everybody else.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's actually making me think more about definitions in general. 9 times out of 10, when I'm talking to someone and we throw out a term that we think we both understand, I'll be like, can you define that for me? And it'll lead to a 15-minute conversation and a realization that there's like millions of, or like untold elements sprinkled into these definitions. And it's almost impossible through words to have a perfect understanding because there's so many perspectives and like subtle nuances. And I think that's awesome in recognizing the idea of defining narcissists from the perspective of pretending to be self-loving, but truly not. And it opens a whole new window. Can we just hop topic to topic?
Yes, it's our
Because
podcast.
the next most exciting thing to go down when you say that is, and I totally lost my train of thought because I was so excited. Well, anywho.
We'll edit this part out. Just take your time.
It'll come back to me. What were we talking about with the narcissist?
Like
we
the
can edit it?
labels, when you label people
Oh,
and everybody
yes.
has different
Thank
definitions.
you. We don't have to edit this out because I recovered fast enough, assuming I recovered. What do you consider another core element I find across everyone who resonates with me is the concept that reality is merely a mirror. There are other souls and entities that are self-existing in their own right, but you only experience them within the context of yourself. The only version you can get of the other form of consciousness is reflective of your own consciousness. So you might as well always be sitting actually alone in a room by yourself, just looking at a bunch of mirrors around you.
I totally agree with the first part and disagree 100% with the second part, because I believe the quickest way to learn is to be in relationship with people, because they're constantly reflecting back to us who we are, whether it's our brilliance or the parts of us that we think, oh my gosh, I hope no one sees that. That's not lovable. If they see this about me, they're not going to love me. They're going to reject me. So if I'm sitting in a room by myself, I'm not interacting with anything to give me any information, at least not at my level of consciousness. Maybe you are. I'm not interacting with other life forms on a regular basis, other than, well, that's not true, other than when I'm communicating with spirit or the divine or different guides. Now, that's always available to, I believe, anybody who's seeking it, who's open to it. But are they going to reflect back to me the parts of myself that I think are shitty and unlovable? Nope. Only people will do that. They're only reflecting back to me my brilliance, which isn't such a bad thing, right? Who couldn't use more of that?
I like that. You're establishing your preference in that statement, I see. What do you think? Have you heard the old Eastern proverb, the perceiver and the perceived are one? Or the perceiver is the perceived? There's different ways I've heard it said. But that idea of interacting with yourself, because if you are, maybe God's not the best term to use, all that is, literally all that is, then you'd be interacting with other echoes of yourself, potentially to infinity, and the echoes would then echo, and you'd respond to the echo, which would create a new one, and there would be infinite versions of yourself to interact with. But that idea, what you put out is what you get back, or the law of attraction, or the law of, I guess there's like a bunch of different terms I've heard for that, would suggest, which is another core theme, it would suggest you're always gonna get what you consciously believe yourself to be. or unconsciously believe yourself to be.
Yeah, that's more fitting, what you unconsciously believe. Yeah, I like all that. And I believe that you can definitely learn all there is to learn in isolation. I don't think we're meant to do that for long periods of time. And I believe that it is much quicker. It is so much quicker to go out and drive and see if you get triggered. If you do, okay. I don't believe you can see anything outside of yourself, because nothing is really outside of you. And we spend so much time as human beings rejecting these core parts of ourselves that we learned growing up. Okay, if I am selfish, I'm going to be punished, or I'm not going to get what I want, or my mom's going to hit me, or she's going to say that I'm unworthy, or whatever, her version of that. So I learn as a little girl, okay, it's not okay to be selfish. If I'm selfish, that means I'm not lovable. So I go around my entire life rejecting this notion of this selfish piece of me, thinking there's something wrong with me if I ever want anything for myself.
Yes.
Which developed, this is true, this is how I grew up. It developed into me being a big people pleaser and fake as hell. Like, I had no idea who I was. And what happens when we reject these pieces is we're constantly looking out here for something to fill those holes. And boy, we will find them in addictions or whatever it is. We don't call them addictions. It could be like, okay, I'm going to work, I'm going to achieve. That will make me feel good about myself. Or I'm going to start a charity, I'm going to give and give, and then she'll know I'm not selfish, then I'll be lovable. But you're always on the hook.
Yes.
You're always a human doing, and you never feel complete.
I love so many ideas in that statement. Two big ones that come to mind, which I'd love to discuss and delve into further, is there not being an actual outside, or that the outside is merely a reflection of the inside. And the second thing I'd love to delve into is your definition of love, because I spent a couple months researching and seeking other definitions of love and realized the definition I was operating under was way out of whack, which is why love felt terrible a lot of the times, like jealousy or sadness or loss. And as we know from Abraham Hicks' emotional guidance system, the emotions indicate the way I'm choosing to perceive something is out of alignment with myself. What I'm perceiving is not out of alignment. My perspective that's chosen on what I'm perceiving is out of alignment. So you want to rack us up with a definition of love? Or whatever you want to pick at first?
Yeah, love is really interesting. And I want to backtrack a little bit, because you were talking about our definitions of labels, but it's the same with words and concepts too, as you're noting. We're all going to have a different definition of love.
Yeah.
So I believe that we are love. Like, it is our essence. You can't extricate yourself from love. That's just who you are.
Yes.
And so I believe that, like, to love, for example, if I'm unconditionally loving someone, I'm caring for their happiness without any regard for what I'm going to get back. It's out of generosity. I cannot love anyone if I'm worried about being selfish, because I don't have anything left. There's nothing left for me to give, and it's not coming from a loving place. It's coming from, I'm going to love you so that you won't look at me this way, or it's tainted. You know what I mean? It's like,
yes.
It's not pure. So love is, I believe, it's the purest expression of who we are and what we're here to express. If people say, like, what's my purpose? It's to be loving. Number one, to yourself, because we're so shitty to ourselves for so long. And it's catching it. It's learning to catch when you're shitty to yourself. And then spreading that. And for some people, it's easier to love others first and then to start, okay, how would I treat someone who did this thing that they think is a mistake? Which it's not a mistake. Nothing's a mistake.
Yes.
How would I treat somebody? What would I say to a person who did that? Okay, can I give that to myself?
That's beautiful.
So it's like a small definition, but it's expansive. It's so expansive. It's everything.
I love it, and I totally feel it.
So tell me yours.
I guess In this question, I'm basically telling you mine. Could you use allow, unconditionally allow, or unconditionally accept, or unconditionally refuse to judge as synonyms for the term of love?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really interesting. I did this, it was based on a book, but it was support groups. It was called Real Love. And we used to practice unconditionally loving other people.
Yes.
And allowing them to love us. And it was really a really good foundation for everything else on top of it. But at its premise, like we would talk about the things that we were so ashamed to talk about or so embarrassed or we thought made us unlovable.
Yes.
And everybody would practice accepting us. And that was the definition of love.
Yes.
Like we practiced not judging other people.
Yes.
And the funniest thing was when new people came. So one time I had, I don't know, a toddler. She was maybe 3. And I was talking about this story. Like she poured crazy glue on my brand new wooden kitchen table. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And it was a couple. I'll never forget their faces. They're like, and they never came back. They did not get, they didn't get to that point of accepting me for using the F word with my toddler.
Beautiful.
But it was such good practice, and I got so good at it that it is practice though. You can actually learn. And then I realized, like, with the stuff I'm doing, I have no room to judge anybody. And that I also have the core premise that every single human being is playing a role for one another. I do have trouble with certain things. Like, can I accept someone and not judge someone who's sexually abusing a child? Not yet. I know my limitations. I cannot do it yet. I try. I do my best to see events as neutral. That one, I'm not there yet, John.
Yeah, there does seem to be gradations in those most human challenging circumstances is when I find peace in assuming the perspective of the higher self, in recognizing everyone is a piece of all that is, everyone's a piece of source, everyone's soul is indestructible, untouchable, unhurtable. It's simply experiential for the purpose of expansion. So when I sit from that perspective, it creates, I guess, a feeling of peace as opposed to sitting in the human perspective, which is obviously, if I had my preference, there's a lot of things I wouldn't prefer. Yeah. Another pretty common theme I've found through the people I'm interested in is saying the point of life is to essentially realize or remember that you are love, like you literally are it. And the way you would do that is forgetting who you are, that you're source, and then experiencing all sorts of circumstances which give you the opportunity to choose a preference, which, as the more you talk to everyone, you realize their preference is always love. Everyone wants everyone to be okay. Everyone wants everyone to be happy. So it kind of creates that interesting paradox where, like, light couldn't exist without dark, happiness couldn't exist without sadness. So from a higher self perspective, just logically, it makes perfect sense that if you wanted anything to be an experience and a preference to be chosen, you'd have to create the full spectrum of experience for you to be able to experience it and then pick and then move in that direction. So like logically, the higher mind's like, yeah, this makes perfect sense when you sit in the idea of human, where you're a limited self who's going to die and can actually be harmed, then larger circumstances can easily be triggering.
Yeah, I love all that. Yeah, it's really fascinating because when I'm removed from an event like it happened in the past, then I can look back and say, oh, I see why my soul needed this. And it's more difficult as a parent when you're looking at your children making their choices to say, okay, I know that my daughter's soul is choosing this for some lesson and to allow her to have her experience. So it's really interesting. Like, you can look at things from a higher perspective. And one thing that I really love is a compassionate view. Like you have a story of creating disease so that you could learn the truth of who you were, essentially. I mean, I'm going to put words in your mouth.
Yes.
But what some people do when they get on a spiritual path is they start beating themselves up like, I created this, therefore. And it's that meaning that they give it. Therefore what? Therefore you wanted this experience. Like, therefore what? There's something wrong with you? You did it wrong? And it's the meaning that we assign things that causes this dis-ease or this uncomfortableness or depression.
Yes, I love that. And one of my favorite quotes that I always go back to from Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka, is the gift of creation is that human life is meaningless. It's a bunch of props that have no assigned definition or meaning associated with them. And the gift of life is that you as consciousness get to dictate how you're going to define every circumstance, every person, every object. And according to his perspective, which I choose as mine, the definition you assign to anything as time spools out is the reflection you'll get back. So if you define this getting my car broken into was terrible, as time spools out, it's going to prove to be terrible. But if you can hold a state of awareness in the moment and be like, I have no idea how this is benefiting me, but this is phenomenal. It's wonderful this happened in some strange way. This is going to be the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And you hold fast to that. You embrace the emotions, elevated emotions associated with it, not like our narcissistic people who may be pretending one thing and feeling another. Supposedly, as time spools out, reality as a reflection of you has to prove to you that you're right and it did benefit you somehow. And I love that perspective.
That's really interesting because I do this exercise with some of my clients. It's called charting the story. And you're looking at it so neutrally, like, okay, who was involved? What time of year was it? What happened? Just the facts, nothing else. And then you come up with a metaphor. What was it like for you? And in coming up with a metaphor, it distances you. So it was like having the rug pulled out from underneath me, or it was like being held under the water and almost drowning. And then you come up to this beautiful part, like who did you become because of it? What lesson did you learn that made you into who you are today? And when you get to that part, when you're like, oh my gosh, without this event that I labeled as terrible, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be compassionate. I wouldn't be loving. I wouldn't be wise, whatever it is. It's so brilliant. Like I've done that I was in an addiction, and without that addiction, or before I got involved in it, I was an atheist. Like I was closed off. I'm like, no, there is no God. And then it was only like being like leveled to this point of like self-hatred where I'm like, there's gotta be something else.
Yes.
And then I actually heard God, or whatever you want to call it, speak to me. I'm like, oh, what? What's happening here? And then it created this path, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I did some shitty stuff.
That's beautiful. I have a similar perspective on illness, although I don't even really associate, I'm not the same person I was then. It literally isn't me, but illness, I chose to make it my greatest gift for the exact same reason. It allowed my consciousness to open up, to realize, wait, there's gotta be something more to life. Like, is this it? You just like wake up and everyone's running and you're like, oh, I guess we better run. And you just start running with the herd. And then it forced me to stop and be like, wait, why am I running? Where's everyone running to? Death? Like, there's nowhere to go. Like, life is just happening forever. And it's such a gift. And a lot of people use the term like transmutation, or alchemist is used. And I realized alchemy is cool. Joe Dispenza uses that a lot. When you like look it up, it'll be like converting like coal to gold, or like some like worthless element to like the most valuable element. And then I realized, or from my perspective, I'm like, oh, I'm an alchemist of consciousness. I'm taking what I think is a coal scenario and then realizing I can transform it into gold and get all the benefits.
Yeah. And it's always been gold.
It's always been gold.
It's just like the recognition.
Yes.
It's the remembering of the truth.
Oh, yes.
And My daughter, when she was little, she said, "You're a really good forgetter."
Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. Can we tangent again? I love just
Yes.
like leapfrogging. This is just like a stream of excited consciousness. The Course in Miracles, which I love, and I did half the workbook for half a year. It's the key premise I took from it was the term forgiveness. And actually, I went digging for their definition of it. And in the version of the Course in Miracles I had, there was no index of definitions. But I went to a Course in Miracles meetup just the other day, and they were using a different version of the book, and it did have an index and a definition, and it affirmed the best synonym I could come up with for forgiveness. The index basically defined it that way, and the synonym for forgiveness was forgetting. And this is full freaking circle because it goes back to the now. Every now is a completely new second with completely unlimited potential. So can you not use memories of the past to go forward? The memories, which are like etched neurological pathways in the human body, or who knows what on the higher level, are just like repeated patterns, AKA beliefs, just thoughts you keep thinking. But as soon as you can forget the past, or as the Eastern proverbs say, die to every second. Can you die to every second? Just be 100% you without bringing all the memories into it. The potential logically would be unlimited, absolutely unlimited.
I love that. I love that. Another thing in Course in Miracles is they talk about being empty-headed, which is like so present and available for whatever comes in, whatever's in front of you. And it also says like whatever we're reacting to, like if we think we're reacting to something right now in this present moment, you're not. It's like you're always reacting to your past, because in this present moment, if you have fresh eyes, like a brand new soul that just got here, what's there to react to? You have nothing to compare it to. You're just here. You're like, oh, interesting. There's like nothing to react to.
That is so cool. And that's Michael Singer's another person who I love, and that's what he kind of speaks on. You go to a restaurant and you're like, oh, I had this pizza last time and it was amazing. And then you go with this expectation that I had this last time to the same place, you bring friends, and all of a sudden there's a different chef or whatever on. And then because you're bringing that memory, when you have the pizza, you're like, this is terrible. And you pick an emotional level to be at, which is obviously creating your future based on some memory of the past, when you can just appreciate, like, I volunteer at a dog shelter, a puppy shelter, and I love it. Puppies are my inspiration. People are always like, you can kind of be like smart and sad or dumb and happy, and puppies are kind of like the stereotype of dumb and happy. Like, they forget every second and they'll lick you. Like, I watched a vet tech inoculate a puppy, which is a great thing to do so they don't get sick or whatever. The puppy squeals in pain and a second later turns around and starts licking the face. And I'm like, that is Christ consciousness, turning the other cheek. I don't remember a second ago. I choose unconditional love. Even if I squealed in pain a second ago, that's no longer relevant to who you are or what this circumstance is.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty profound. It's really interesting too. Like, I think it's a good habit or a good practice. Like, when you forget the truth of who you are, watch children or go play with puppies. Animals are only in the present moment. That's it. That's all that exists. Nothing else exists. Children, only in the present moment. They only have subconscious minds. Their conscious mind's not formed yet. We can learn a lot.
Beautiful. And so one thought's coming to mind, which maybe you have a perspective on. I'd love to hear. How do you pick what you focus on in any given now? And just to frame it, you can like spin your head 360 degrees and see a whole lot of stuff going on around you. You could maybe see a car accident at 0 degrees and then turn 90 degrees and you can see a puppy playing with a butterfly, and then you can turn 90 degrees and you can see a house being built, and then you can turn another 90 degrees and see a mountain and a sunset. And a lot of people would suggest you pick, or maybe it's a reflection of my own consciousness, I always picked what seemed to be the most miserable thing happening because I thought I could change through physical action things to make it better, I think. And as I study true laws of nature and quantum physics and the nature of reality, I realize focusing on the things I don't prefer amplifies them and brings more of it. And both are, or all four things are equally real and equally valid. And by focusing on the puppy playing with the butterfly, for me personally, my heart's going to explode and I'm going to hold an emotional state whereby maybe if I focused on that for 5 minutes and I wound up at the car accident, I'd be like, hey guys, everything's going to be all right. Let's hug it out, versus going straight to the car accident and be like, oh my God, is everyone okay? Like, you're not in a state to do anything, kind of like reaction. So I'd love your perspective on how you pick what you look at in each moment, given all the things going on in the world.
Well, it's interesting. It depends, right? Like, I go unconscious just like everybody else. For me, it's a matter of how long do I go unconscious? And in most moments, not most, but a lot of moments, I'm setting an intention. Okay, what do I want to experience here? What do I want to see? And I'm telling my subconscious mind, okay, show me how the world is kind, and show me how I'm powerful. Show me how I make a difference in people's lives, or whatever that I want to experience in the moment. Show me some fun. And I don't say show me fun because I believe that I am fun. I don't just have fun, I bring it. Like,
Yes.
wherever I am, like, I don't care. Like, today I'm
Facts.
in a serious yoga class. We did Happy Baby. What do? Like, I make a baby noise.
I thought you were going to do other stuff, but I like that.
No, I didn't like crap myself. I didn't like flail and hit my neighbor.
We got to give this a Z rating. Sorry, keep going. I got to make sure I insert a few things here.
But it's, if I catch myself, I usually use my body. Like, if my body doesn't feel good, if it's tight or I'm like, one of the quickest ways that I shift my state, my physiology, is I skip like a child. I believe it works. My sample size is about 25 right now, but every single person who's tried it, they're giggling like a child within seconds.
I love that, and
So
I
if
love
you're-
to skip BT dubs.
Oh, we're gonna.
It's the most efficient way to move
skipping,
quickly
like
too.
Karen and John.
It's
It's
you
very
move at
fast.
jogging speed, but you exert walking effort. Anyway, go on. I love it.
And it's fun.
Yes.
And I don't know what it does. I really think we should have a team of scientists study what it does to the brain, but it definitely fires some good stuff. It produces some happy chemicals. So it's interesting, when I am driving, I perceive most people, almost everyone, as kind and loving. And nothing ever happens on the road to me. Like, people don't cut me off. Like, if I accidentally cut someone off, I'm like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like opening my heart and sending them love. And like, every now and then I might get flipped off, but I'm still like, I love you. I'm not like that, because they'll probably shoot me. But I'm really sorry. I truly am sorry. I was an asshole. So, like, I don't know. I don't experience a lot of mean people, for example. I got a comment on one of my YouTube videos the other day, and they make me chuckle because I'm super grateful anytime someone comments, because it boosts the algorithm and then more people are gonna see my stuff. And this person said, Jesus told me that my heart is evil and that your heart is evil too. So I'm gonna choose to follow Jesus and not you. I'm like, okay. Thanks for commenting. I 100% believe that Jesus is pure love and that I am created in his image and you are too. And there's no evil in you. You are pure love. That's what I commented, and I truly mean it. And I've seen a hater shift so fast within 3 comments. This one person that commented on one of my videos, it was so funny. I know this is a tangent, but he's like,
Tangent.
feelings are for women and children. And I'm like, like, at first I thought it was hilarious because, duh, I'm a woman. But then I'm like, okay, what was the purpose of him commenting? I'm like, well, he doesn't feel loved. Course in Miracles, everything is either an extension of love or a call for love. It was a call for love.
Absolutely.
So I sat with it. I didn't respond. And then I responded, okay, what is true for me? What's true for me is I'm really grateful that he commented because of the algorithm thing. So I said that. Thank you so much for commenting. I don't remember what else I said in that comment. And then he said, thank you for writing back to me. And I said, of course, you matter. And he said, you matter too. From a hater to you matter, like, that blew my mind.
That's beautiful.
I
love
know,
it.
and it's just opening my heart and not taking it personally because nothing's personal.
Yes, that's beautiful. I've had similar experiences too, more with going back to my definition of love with allowance, in terms of when people are, I can see like in a human state, which I recognize, sure, I've been there. Something's like triggering me and I'm not in the seat of consciousness and people are being like rude or angry. And I just say, okay, you're right. Like, even if I personally disagree or recognize it, thanks for showing me the contrast. I can now like focus my awareness more on what I prefer. And it's a valid expression and just say, okay, or like nothing at all, just like nod and be like, yeah, is the times I've been like, wow. A second later, they'll be like, okay, so how about we, like their mood completely flips. And it's interesting, this is an interesting point, another point I've spent a lot of time with, in being like, do I try and intentionally respond with like words or action showing love? Or do I allow the love to be the simple allowance? Like your expression is valid, it's true. Everything is valid as an experience that you can put out and then receive back. And it's an interesting point. I don't know if I've reached a conclusion. I guess I feel the moment, and if I feel inspired to say something,
Right.
that's beautiful. I felt more inspired just to be like, you're right. And actually, it's like training for my ego. I don't need to be right. Like, it doesn't matter. I create my own reality with my focus on thoughts and emotions. And if I can allow a situation to be peaceful by being like, you're totally right, whatever hateful rhetoric you're spewing, like, it's a valid choice. Thank you for showing me that I prefer love over hate.
I'm gonna try that next time. You're right.
You're right.
You're right. You're right. I'm evil. Well, I am. I'm everything. I am everything. So yes, I am evil. Okay.
That's, yes. And actually, I recognize that as a truth. I'm both pure love and pure evil. Like,
Yes.
if I'm all that is, every potential has to be contained within me. And ironically, it's the fighting or denial of something I don't prefer, which brings more of it because of the law of attraction. What you put out is get you back. All those things different people call it. But there's only the greatest superpower I feel like I have or anyone has is focus. That's my only like real tool in life, because whatever I look at expands. And it's so easy as the human perspective to be like, I hate that. I need to abolish the hate. But then when I sat with that, I realized, shit, hating hate is the same thing. It just cycles. And then I realized the only way out of the cycle of hate is love, is allowance. Someone spews hate. The only way to stop the cycle is to be like, okay, bro, let's hug it out. Like, it's cool. You're allowed to express that and show love towards hate. It's the only conceivable way out of the loop.
I love that so much. And as you're speaking, I'm like, damn it. One of my biggest rackets is the need to be right. And by responding to that woman, I was trying to be right. Damn it.
Wow, that's amazing real-time reflection. I can feel the
gosh.
truth of your realization
I know.
right now.
And it gets, every time it gets me, I'm like, there it is again. I'm like, okay, I see you. I'm ready to transmute this. I'm ready to say, yeah, you're right.
That's
You're right.
what I love, that we're how we totally jive. I had that same realization where I realized a lot of times when I was verbalizing, I was trying to be like right by verbalizing love, but in my seat of my heart and consciousness, it was that exact thing. I'm trying to be right by like verbalizing love.
Yes.
And then I realized like I don't have the power of consciousness yet to truly show that, kind of like the narcissist idea of like truly hating myself. So I found so much power in just silently allowing, sit in consciousness and be like, I choose to allow this. I choose not to judge this. I choose not to do anything. Just let it be. It's fine. And that's where I've extrapolated the most power. That's so cool.
That's so brilliant.
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird, but I love when I catch myself in this stuff. I absolutely love it because that means I'm growing and I'm evolving. At least in theory. I keep doing it over and over.
You are, definitely. I will confirm, you are. You are growing.
But you know what else I love about it is it gives everybody permission to fuck up. Like, who cares? Like, I had one trainer in leadership and she'd say, if you're gonna fuck it up with passion. Like, don't just sit back and not live, not risk, not do anything out of your comfort zone. Like, go out and mess up, like have some fun, like be willing to get on the field and play the game. Don't just be a spectator.
Yes, I love this. And it opens up a whole new avenue. I love just leapfrogging topics with you. So I choose, when I fuck up, I have a whole new perspective thanks to studying Bashar and Abraham and these people. I learn from the fuck up by defining it as a recognition that I think I'm fucking up when actually I didn't, and choose the new perspective. Hey, you're living life. You're taking risks. It's phenomenal. A lot of like, from the human perspective, you say like, I turned right and I fucked up. So now I know to turn left next time. And that's a valid human perspective, but it's always within the same framework of memory. So you're not actually in the now. You're assuming right and left are like objective things, and which way I turn matters, when the truth of the higher self is my state of being is all that matters. And if I'm in a true state of being, it doesn't fucking matter whether I go right or left. There's gold sitting in both and every direction for me, because it's my consciousness which creates, it's not the physical action.
Yes, mic drop, boom.
Yeah, you feeling that?
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
And as you were talking, like go left or right, I'm like, you know where I didn't go? In. I didn't go in and up, so to speak.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Like that's all there is. Like in the moment, I don't need to know anything.
Yes.
I need to know nothing. That's like the pure empty-headedness.
Yes.
All I get to know is like, okay, breathe. What would you have me do? That's it. Sometimes it's nothing.
That's so powerful. It's not, you're right, it's not left or right, it's in. That is the seat of consciousness, which is creating both left and right. That's like my core, another core message is that idea, emotion out equals experience back. The emotion and state of being I'm consciously pumping out is what causes the physical experience. It is like the root cause. So if you're joyfully embracing every moment with no concern for the future, trusting the outside is the inside, I'm all that is, there's absolutely nothing to fear, I'm swimming in freaking love right now. If that's the state of being, then who the fuck cares? Who cares about anything? And I exist in that state of being so much more of the time now, and it's just, life becomes nothing but laughter. I just sit and laugh in consciousness, sometimes uncontrollably, because there's nothing to fear from that perspective. Fearing something and then proving it's true is an equally real experience. But I love sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having said that, we can prove whatever we want to be true. Whatever you say, this is true, you're telling your subconscious mind, find me evidence that this is true, and you'll always find it. So why not change? Like pick something you want to experience and say, find me evidence that that's true. That's why I say, like, find me evidence, show me how the world is kind, how people are loving, and how I'm expansive and powerful and connected and pure love and pure joy. And then I find it, and I get to meet cool people like John.
Karen, that is your damn mic drop right there. That's it. Yes. One of Bashar's statements that I love too, God, I love so many things he said. He says, all truths are true. And when you sit with that, you realize everyone is putting out their own truth through their beliefs, state of being, and action. And reality, because it's liquid love and gives you whatever you put out as your truth, reflects it. So there's nothing that's wrong or bad. There's just each person, each consciousness choosing their truth and then having reality prove them that their truth was right. So like, I can never tell another consciousness you're wrong because I know they're experiencing what they say their truth is. We're all like in our own world, and the pegs that light up with our frequency are all we can interact with. There's like nothing outside of our own frequency, and there's such liberation, and I love that concept. It frees me and it frees everyone else to literally be free, because you're right. That's why, and that's how the ego thing is. That's the perspective I'm actually choosing, I'm realizing now. When someone's spewing like, this fucking sucks because whatever, and here's the proof of it, and I wanna like argue, I realize when I say you're right, I'm saying your truth and your reflection is right. you're getting back what you're putting out. It's not me saying I like choose that. It's me acknowledging you're right. You chose that truth and you got that experience. You're right. Right?
Ah, I love that.
Yeah.
I love it so much. It's also juicy.
Yeah, it is. I get like so invigorated with these conversations. There's few things more exciting I could imagine doing. There are a few more things I could imagine doing.
All right,
but-
John. That's a different episode.
Would that be the quadruple Z rating if I went there? I'll lay low for if this is the first episode.
It might be.
I think so.
I think it's the first one we're recording.
I'm feeling pretty good about this.
It's amazing.
It is.
This is amazing, John.
Yes.
I
love this.
love talking to you. My mind is
Likewise.
always opened, expanded.
Likewise. It's like an echo of expansion.
It's so juicy to be in truth. So hopefully you felt this passion and something resonated with you. Let us know what nuggets you picked up and what you're being right about. Tell us what your experience is.
Beautiful.
What do you have to say, John?
I was going to bring up the idea of whether we have comments on or off. I know it enhances algorithm. I feel like I speak my truth, and because all truths are true, it's kind of like when a message doesn't vibrate with me, I go, oh, that's a truth. And then I recognize my superpower is my focus, and I focus elsewhere. It presents an interesting contemplation if I would consider comments. But if your excitement is comments, I'm all in.
Well, I
on
believe
you,
that
Ruben.
everybody's expression is really valuable. And we all have the desire and the human need to be seen, heard, accepted, and loved. And
Beautiful.
whether people agree or not, I don't care.
Karen, you're right.
I do not care
You're
whether
totally
you
right.
agree because your experience is right.
Yes.
But I would love to know what resonated with you and what you're taking away and what your thoughts are. Absolutely.
This was very cool.
It was
Thanks for hanging
cool.
out.
Thank you. Boom.
Is that how we end every episode? Wait, we should get like an official handshake.
Oh, we
I
have
do
to
like
make
the
one.
boom with the explosion, and then maybe we can like come back as we're like one. I don't know.
We can make a heart.
Yes. Maybe.
I don't know. We'll figure
We'll
it out.
play it
We'll work
over.
on it. We'll work on it. All right.
All right.
We need a handshake choreographer.
Ooh, yeah. If anyone has ideas on that, I am open. There's got to be people out there. I don't do the TikTok dances, but they're impressive to watch or whatever.
Yeah. No,
So-
I don't either. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We will see you right here next time.
Peace.